Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews, and once again, it's a really tiny week. It's a catch-22. I mean, having a tiny week means that I don't have to read as much stuff, but it's also like there's just not a lot of books that are coming out. Now, there's still definitely a lot of stuff worth picking up. And you'll see it this week. Unfortunately, a lot of the new ones were not, really. It was kind of a mixed bag this week. So let's just get started. First up, we have Static Shadow of Dakota, number one. Written by Nicholas Draper Ivey and Vita Alea, with artwork by Nicholas Draper Ivey. So this follows the season one Static Shock and the other Dakota, or the milestone titles. It comes out of also Blood Syndicate. So in the front of the book, there's kind of a recap of what has happened to set up this new story with Static. So what it was in that particular story, there was like the Big Bang gas. And what it did is created what they call bang babies, where people got powers from this. So their federal government kind of got involved trying to contain these superheroes and these bang babies, basically. And this second season for Static kind of picks up where that ended. So it starts off that Static is going to a meeting to talk about, some of these people who have had special powers. And on the way there, there's an explosion, and then there's these kind of terrorists basically killing or capturing. They're actually trying to capture the Bang Babies, and Static stops it. And then we find out later that there's a villain obviously behind finding out why this group is trying to find these Bang Babies. And then that's the basic story here. I think I enjoyed it. It wasn't so much, there wasn't a lot of Static in this first issue, but it was setting up the story. So you kind of have that going. But it was nice. It was not, this first issue's exposition, so it's kind of tough to judge where this story is going to go from this first issue. But what's there is a nice setup there, and I wouldn't say it's necessarily the best jumping on point. I think reading the previous Static series and obviously the other, I think Blood Syndicate really tied into this. That would probably be the better place to start, but with the recap at the beginning, you can definitely fairly jump right in and kind of get the gist of what's going on. Draper Ivey's artwork's nice. It's a good looking book. I liked it. I just wouldn't say that I loved it, but I'm a big fan of Static Shock, so I think it's worth checking out this week. Just temper your expectations, because it is really this first issue's a setup. Next up, we have Monarch number one, written by Rodney Barnes with artwork by Alice Ling. So what this is, it's the story about this kid Travis, who he's going to school and he's being picked on by this bully Zion, who was also in school, but he got kicked out. And so his friends Todd and his girlfriend Daisha, so they're in school and everything. And then, let me preface this. There's a giant cloud in the sky. Nobody kind of knows what's going on. And then all of a sudden, these aliens come down, they start killing people, and the kids are trapped in the school. And then Trayvon decides that he's gonna go home and try to find his family and stuff like that. And along the way, Zion comes and tries to, basically get revenge for everything that's bad has happened to him. And he shoots Trayvon, but then the aliens kind of come and pick him up and take him up to the ship. And that's the basic story there. like I really wanted to like it. I just don't think there was a lot here. I mean, there is definitely the exposition setting up the story and everything, but the actual premise wasn't overall really compelling to me. I think, the alien invasion thing, everything was really basic. I just don't know that there was a lot tying it together. But I will say I did like ideas. I did like Barnes, at least within the parameters of first issue, gave a little bit of backstory to the characters and stuff like that. That was a plus. But I think it's just not, it wasn't particularly an overwhelming first issue. I think there was a few good ideas. I think I'll give it a second issue, kind of see what, maybe, there's a new angle with the aliens and stuff like that. But like I said, this is pretty much a lot of exposition here, and I think I think you might give it a look at the comic store and kind of see. I did like Lynn's artwork. The artwork's actually nice. It does a good job. It kind of helps move things along pretty well. I just wasn't particularly overwhelmed by it. I didn't hate it, and I didn't love it. It was just kind of like a little kind of okay. Next up, we have Harrower #1, written by Justin Jordan with artwork by Bram Ravel. So, this is so what it is there's this small town, and the Harrower is kind of like think of like Candyman or Pumpkinhead. There's some sort of like mythical type killer that comes to this small town, and if somebody's marked for the sinner's mark, then they're going to die. So it kind of in the beginning, you see this guy who his house is marked. The Harrower shows up and eventually kills him, and then it cuts to the kids in school. So the main kids are there's Jessica, her boyfriend Reed, and there's the typical high school thing, there's the kid who, kind of the bad kid Carter. I wouldn't say he's necessarily a bully, but we find out that Carter's dad is the one that gets killed in the beginning. And so what it is, this is the anniversary of, I guess, the Harrower or whatever, and all the adults are going to the Harvest Gala, and the kids are like, oh, we're going to a party, and then the car gets the tires get blown out, and then we discover that the Harrower's back, and here's the thing, that's the basic setup here. It's kind of like, for me, it reminded me of kind of like a cheesy horror movie, which that's what you're going for, it did it well. But I think the thing was that that the script was just like, it was pretty basic. It was all very basic setup, horny dead teenagers sort of setup, here's the killer, the Jason type character. And for me, Jordan didn't bring anything new to the project. It was all nice and everything, but it's just like a cheap horror, kind of slasher film. The one plus for the book, Ravel's artwork's really nice. It really is a good looking book. It's just that this story has been told a million times, and in this first issue, there was nothing new that was brought to the table. So that for me was a big problem. But I guess if you're looking for a horror book, this one came out. I don't think there's enough there to recommend for me. Next up, we have Space Job #1, written by David A. Goodman with artwork by Alvaro Sarcia. So what this is so Donnie is, he just got a job on the SS George H.W. Bush spaceship, and he's going to be the new first officer. He gets there, and something happens to him. I will not say, but anyways, then you're really introduced to the crew of the spaceship, and there is Travis, who's kind of our main character after Danny, and he's the operations officer, and we kind of find out that the captain is pretty much a nutball. And it's just like there's drama going on. So let's be honest, this is basically kind of a Star Trek ripoff. That's the best way to kind of describe it. Unfortunately, the problem is it's just there wasn't really anything particularly compelling in the story that I felt brought anything new. Honestly, this really felt like a failed TV pilot, and it's being turned into a comic. That's to me what it really felt like. Sicia's artwork's nice. It gets a job done, but it's not like there's a whole lot to work with. And mostly it's just people standing around talking. So, he does a decent job with what he's given with the script. But honestly, this book is just kind of, like I said, it seems like a failed TV pilot that's been turned into a comic book. It's really just kind of really okay. And that was really kind of where it landed this week. Next up, we have Avengers War Across Time, #2, written by Paul Levitz with artwork by Alan Davis. So I really enjoyed the first issue of this book. It's a real throwback to like kind of, 60s Marvel, where it's just fun. There's no continuity you need to know. You definitely should read the first issue. But what it is the Avengers, this group of the Avengers knows that there's King is one of the villains in this, so there's kind of time travel involved. So they go to the Baxter building to try to go through a time portal that Reed Richards has. Well, they discover when they get there that nobody's there. The mailman shows up and says, "Hey, I don't know you guys, but Reed's out of town. They just left, blah blah blah." So they end up going, they work their way up to the time machine, and they can't get it started. And so inadvertently, the mailman leaves the bag, turns on the machine, and the Dwarf King, Serdri, comes through, and he's like, he can smell Thor, and so he, so there's a battle that ensues with them, and there's a bit of a surprise with Serdri and Thor at the end, which I will not reveal. It was a nice little touch, even if you're not super familiar with who Serdri is, the Dwarf King. But the good thing about Levitz, he really spells it out, and by the end you're like, oh, it's that guy. And once again, it's like the first issue. This is just a lot of fun. That's what I really love about this book. It's not really, it's not deep or anything like that. It's just a good, fun superhero comic, which you just don't see a lot of today. So that's actually, for me, a big plus. And as all know, I'm a huge Alan Davis fan. So getting any Alan Davis book is always a win in my book. And really, he's just, you can tell that Paul and Alan are just having a really fun time doing this book, and it really comes off that way. And that's what I loved about the first issue, the second issue, and it does a nice job of keeping the story going. So definitely this is a good must pick up this week. Next up, we have Batman and the Joker, the Deadly Duo, #4, written and drawn by Mark Silvestri. So once again, this is an 8-issue miniseries, so we're kind of in the middle here. So what it is the villain is, now that Batman and Joker are teaming up, they have to do certain tasks, and this month's task is they're on this old bullet train that the Bruce's father built between Gotham and Metropolis. And so what the Batman and the Joker have to do is, so there's the train weighs a certain amount with the people and everything on it, and they have to get the weight down or it'll crash in and kill thousands of people at the station. That's the basic structure of this story. And once again, we're in the middle of the story, so this is just kind of solidifying what is going on in the story. There's also little nuggets of the overall story arc that are also happening. But once again, I'm really enjoying this book, and Silvestri's doing a good job with the script, and of course, really the main thing that people are going to buy this for is his artwork. But the script is actually good. He's doing a nice job. This is a good middle part of the story to keep the story going while still moving the plot along. And so that's where we're at on this fourth issue. But I'm still enjoying it for what it is, and it's just been quite an interesting ride. So we'll kind of see where he keeps going with it. Next up, we have Spy Superb #2, written and drawn by Matt Kindt. So what this is? So the first issue. So what we learned is that the government has created this sort of fake spy that that is supposedly the greatest spy ever. But what they actually do is have normal people do little things. So it's always a different person doing it. So then the other government spy agencies never know who, they just think there's this mysterious super spy that they, kind of think they see, but they never see. So this new fake spy, super spy, Jay, has inadvertently killed really major Russian mobsters in his apartment. So now everybody thinks, oh my God, it's the super spy. And so the Russians hire Roach, their top hitman, and then China has Lucky Leong, and so Lucky Leong gets to him first, and so her picture's on the phone for the phone that the super spy picks up and hands off to somebody else, and he got the phones mixed up. And so she's supposed to kill him. The Roche is supposed to kill him, but then she kind of figures out there's something going on with this whole thing, and so she doesn't immediately kill him, but she does end up taking Roche out to kind of find out what the hell's going on. She's kind of figured out, hey, there's something going on. So that's kind of what this second issue is about. I really love this book. The first issue was great, and I really like how Kindt really built upon that first issue and really because Jay is not only is he not a spy, he's kind of a idiot, and that's what makes it so much fun is he thinks that this is real and everything, and it really isn't, but it's just there's a lot going on, comedy wise. That's the other thing that really this is, it's kind of serious, but it's kind of a comedy at the same time, and I love how Kindt really balances those two elements of the story. And I just love this book, and once again, I love Matt Kindt's artwork. I know for a lot of people it's kind of the hot and cold thing, but it's really good stuff. I'm really enjoying this book, and I'm really excited to kind of see where it goes, because the second issue really built nicely upon that first issue, and I just love this book. Next up, we have Joe Fixit #2, written by Peter David, with artwork by Yeardley Sinar. So Mr. Fixit is in Las Vegas. He's the Hulk, but he's kind of an alternate version of the Gray Hulk, where he's a bouncer basically. And so this guy who owns a casino, kind of a mobster guy. So Kingpin comes and wants to buy the casino or whatever, and the guy blows him off, and Joe basically escorts Kingpin out of the office, not so nicely. So Kingpin wants his revenge. Now Spidey's involved. Now he's hanging out in Vegas, and so what it is Kingpin has this gas that makes people go crazy. So he tests it out on one of his bodyguards, and so he's like, okay, this is gonna work. So he goes into the hotel specifically knowing that Joe is gonna get pissed at him and basically kind of throw him out again. So Kingpin releases the gas, and thankfully Spider-Man's there to kind of try to take down the Hulk, and that's really what this issue is about. So I'm really loving this book. David just, this is from his Hulk run that he did years and years ago. But you really don't need to know that. You just need to know that, basically the Hulk is Joe Fixit, and he's a bodyguard, he's a bouncer. And it's just a lot of fun, and Sinar's artwork is really, really good. I really enjoy this book. It's a lot of fun, and I think that's the big key of why it's working so well, is it has just this really fun vibe to it and everything, and Peter's really good at that. And once again, Sinar's artwork's really, really nice. This is a really fun book, and once again, severely lacking at Marvel. Just a fun superhero book. So definitely check this out. Next up, we have Batman 132, written by Chip Zdarsky, with pencils by Mike Hawthorne and inks by Adriano Bernardetto as the inker. And then there's the Robin backup story, written by Zdarsky, with artwork by Miguel Mendocilla. So, so Bruce has been sent to this alternate universe where Batman doesn't exist anymore. And so there's all the other characters. So this one, he actually meets Selina, Killer Croc, and Punchline, and a bunch of others, but they're different versions of those characters. They're not the ones that he thinks, and he's trying to kind of basically, Gotham is kind of turned into this police state where the cops are basically on Bane juice, and so he's really trying to find out what's going on, why there's no Batman, and this and that. And so he infiltrates, or he kind of fakes his way into this Gallus, so he can talk to like the guy who's running the town. And then, of course, that doesn't go well because Selina shows up as, obviously, like, figures out that, hey, this is the guy that they're looking for. And that's the basic structure of the story. So it's kind of like dealing where Bruce is, he's not Batman, but he's trying to figure out what's going on in this alternate universe. So it's really interesting what Zdarsky's kind of doing here after, the big battle with Failsafe. So it's really quite intriguing where he's going. It's kind of like telling a new Batman story, but in a different way. So with him being in this alternate universe, so it's an intriguing premise. And Hawthorne's artwork's nice. It does a really nice job. With the people talking scenes, and there's some good action in this issue. The backup Robin story is he's still trying to find Bruce, and he's kind of connected a gun that Toyman used, and so Mr. Terrific helps him go, follow this trail of Toyman, and that's the basic premise. So, Robin's trying to find Bruce, but he gets stuck in this pot. We don't know if it's the same world or a different world yet, but that's kind of the backup. So the backup is kind of a part of the main story, just more of a side story. But Mendoza's artwork's nice. It gets the job done. Overall, I'm liking the way Zdarsky's taking this story. I also like the fact that the backup story kind of has to do with the main story. That's a nice touch. I mean, so that's kind of a plus. But I'm still liking what they're doing here. So once again, with 800 Batman books a month, Zdarsky's doing a good job. So, and finally this week we have Secret Invasion number 4, written by Ryan North, with artwork by Francisco Mobley. So what it is Maria Hill has discovered that the Skrull are able to avoid detection. And so we learned last issue that Tony Stark has been he has some Skrulls that are helping him with technology and stuff, and they're not bad guys or anything. So Hill ran across that, so she ends up killing his assistants, and Iron Man is none too happy about that. So she's also trying to do it with the Skrull that she's captured, to try and get him to confess. And so Iron Man comes, he's pissed. She gets into an Iron Man suit, and then the battle ensues. And what we find out is that this Skrull that she has captured has basically been trying to capture her, and that's where we're left at the end of this issue. I really like what North is doing here. This has been a really surprising book. I'm a big fan of him as a writer, and this has been a surprisingly good book. Mobley's artwork's really nice. It's basically kind of a murder mystery type setup, for a premise, and I'm really digging it. I like it. In the next issue is the last one, so we'll kind of see where this is all going to go. But it's been a good ride so far. So it'll be interesting to see where North kind of wraps it all up in the next issue. That's going to do it this week, kids. Like I said, it's a very small week. As always, public service announcement. I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics in Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner runs a great store there. They offer a pull service, so you get a discount on your new comics. He offers discounts on trades and graphic novels, up to 30% off. Most of them are 30% off. The manga's 20% off. But they have a nice selection. If it's something that he doesn't have in stock and they can order it, they can get it. Also, Annie, Eduardo, Derek, and Wendy are there. They really help out. It's got a great customer, a lot of great customers too. And check out their Facebook page. For lots of fun, lots of interactions and stuff like that. If you live in that's of course in Long Beach, California. So if you're in the area, please stop by. It's a great store. If you live more in the LA area, there's Pulp Fiction Culver City. Same name, different owners. Chris and her team run that store. Pretty much have most of the same discounts and everything, but definitely support your local comic shop, as I've always said. As with these really small weeks, there's not a lot of books, so this is like I said, just like last week, this is the time to pick up, maybe some trades that you missed, some books that you missed, but always support your local comic shop. And if you have a pull service there, make sure that you pick up your pulls on a timely basis, because they have to pay for those books ahead of time before you buy them. So it's really important to support your local comic shop. And as always, we end the show with be kind. Being kind is just good for you. It's good for other people. It doesn't have to be big things. Just, have a good day. Have a good night. Thank you. You're welcome. It's really simple, folks. Things are tough out there. Trust me. I know it. I've been there. But being kind doesn't cost anything. And you can it'll not only make your day, it can make somebody else's day, just being kind to somebody. So that's going to do it this week. Thanks for watching. Please, as always, please subscribe, like, and share our review videos on YouTube. Comments, constructive criticism is always welcome. If you have any comments, leave them in the comments below. And just thanks for watching. We'll do it again next week. Hopefully, we will get some more new books into the mix. So. Take care of yourselves. Thanks for watching. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com signing off. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. All right, folks. Bye-bye.